Y'all, hey, welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for stopping by, y'all. We are clearly ootin' a boot, and you can tell by the size of my hair what the weather is like today. It is foggy, it is humid, it is nasty, it is pouring down rain, and I got to go ootin' a boot. But I left the house, y'all, and I realized about halfway down the block that I had forgotten to grab my little Books Palma, which y'all know how much I love this because I'm gonna read some books while I'm sitting in between appointments. So I ran back and got my Books Palma, but I got to thinking, we never did, and we're going to do like an in-depth discussion of this thing. But what I was thinking was we should really do an in-depth discussion of a more like common, more, I don't want to say more useful, but something that more folks are more likely to have. I want to do an in-depth discussion of the Kindle app for the iPad. So I tell you what, y'all go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you can keep up with the shenanigans. I'm gonna get up out of this weather because as y'all can see, things are not getting any better out here, and I'm sorry, you can probably hear my windshield wiper, and don't nobody want to hear all that. But I'm gonna get to the house. I need to do one more quick ride on the bike so I can be done with that for the day. And the intern has been out of town. He's gonna be home soon. So I need to get home, get things settled. Let me do that. I'll get set up there. I'll get us an iPad that we can work on, and we'll go over, sorry about the, okay, that actually just got worse. Sorry about the windshield wipers. Let me just get off here. I'll get us set up on an iPad where we can talk about the Kindle app and what things we can change and adjust inside the app to make it really more user-friendly, how we can adjust things and arrange things and organize things and just make it kind of a nice reading experience. So let me get out of this mess, let me get some stuff done, and I will meet you back at the house. All right, y'all, we have made it home. I was in and out of the rain no fewer than half a dozen times. I rode on the Peloton bike for a little bit, so I added some sweat to this mess. So here's what we got. I'm gonna apologize one more time. Sorry about all this, but this is about the best it's gonna get for today, so we're just gonna roll with it. And y'all, like I mentioned, I want to talk about the iPad and the Kindle app. I'm gonna just go ahead and set my iPad right here. The Kindle app on the iPad, because y'all know I love me some Kindle. I read on Kindles almost exclusively. Well, Kindle things in the Kindle-like ecosystem, almost exclusively, either Kindles or physical books. And I keep saying I'm gonna break the habit of buying ebooks and physical books of like the same book so I can switch back and forth. I haven't broken that habit yet, but y'all, I'm working on it. So I read on Kindles and on Kindle apps on e-ink tablets. So if you've watched my other videos, you know that those are what I prefer. And y'all, I'm not going to be disingenuous and be like, oh, I love the Kindle on the iPad or Kindle on the iPhone or whatever. I don't. I like it. It's a fantastic app. It works very well. It does a bunch of things, and we're going to talk about those things. I prefer to read on e-ink because y'all, I'm a person of a certain age. My eyes are a certain age. I'm old, I'm tired, my eyes get tired. I enjoy reading on e-ink because to me, there's just less strain on the eyes. I can read for a lot longer on e-ink than I can on an OLED screen, like the iPad kind of screens, because they just make my eyes tired. So I do prefer e-ink. And like I said, I'm not gonna lie and be like, oh, I love the reading on the iPad screen. I do work on an iPad all day long, which I don't even think about that, but I do. Like when I'm teaching my classes, I work on the iPad and I cast it to, nobody cares anyway, but I don't read on an iPad. But y'all, it's not cheap to buy all these devices, which by the way, I do buy these devices that I like review and that I talk about. So if you want to throw a sister a bone and maybe throw me a thumbs up or a sub, that will help so much with getting me out in the algorithm and getting me some views. But if not, it's okay. I'm still here for you. So anyway, let's get back to things. So I want to talk about using the Kindle on an iPad, because I know lots of people have iPads and that's just the way that people read. Like, you read on what you have, right? You don't have to go out and buy a fancy Kindle or spend $500 on a big e-ink tablet to be able to read comfortably on a Kindle device. You can do it on your iPad. So let's talk about that. And the first thing we need to talk about is the fact that, and I've had lots of questions about this, you cannot buy books through the Kindle app on any of your device, like the Kindle app on any of your Apple devices, because when you buy things, anything, through any of the apps on any of your devices, Apple takes a big old chunk of the money that you spend in those, your in-app purchases. Apple takes a big old chunk of that money. And Amazon's like, nope, we're big enough, we ain't got to play your game. So I think Barnes & Noble is the same way. I don't think you can buy books through the Nook app either. So in order to buy a book, you can buy books on your iPad. You just have to go out of your Kindle app and go into, like, a browser, go into Safari, go into Chrome, go into one of your browsers, get on Amazon that way, buy your book that way, and then go back into your Kindle app and access the book, like download the book. So I'm not going to go into how to do all of that here because this video would be 100 hours long. But yeah, you can't buy books through the Kindle app, but you can buy them through Amazon and then download them through your Kindle app. To run the Kindle app, you have to have iOS, I believe it's iOS 14, which is like 2020 maybe or later. I think that's right. So I think if you have the Kindle app on devices that are running older versions of iOS, you just can't re-download it or update it. So I think it'll still run and you can still, like, get your books and stuff. You just can't download the app on anything older than iOS 14. All right, so let's talk just for a second. Y'all, the iPads have been around forever. Y'all know the good things about the iPad, right? It's a full functioning tablet, right? And I'm not going to do like an iPad versus Kindle thing right now. Maybe we'll do that one day, like an iPad Kindle app versus like Kindle, like maybe the Scribe or something. Do a comparison of the two, like a head-to-head comparison, which I've never done that before because it's so like apples versus turnips, right? They're just so different. Apples. I didn't even mean it like that. But the iPad is a fully functioning tablet, right? And one of the great things about that is that you can download all the apps, right? You can have your Kindle app, your Nook app, you can have Libby, you can have Goodreads, the StoryGraph, hardcover, all of those on your iPad, right? Because it is a full functioning tablet. So that's really nice. They're very customizable, right? You can have different covers, you can do pop sockets, you can do all of those things. And while you can get some of those things for Kindles, and again, we're not doing a comparison, but while you can get some of those things for the other device, there's not nearly as wide a variety available as there are for the iPads. So that's really nice. iPads can be spendy, right? You can spend upwards of really over $1,000 on an iPad Pro, but again, it's a full functioning tablet and a lot of people already have iPads. So if you already have an iPad, you can just download the Kindle app onto it and start reading. So I don't want to get into a bunch of things that I don't like about reading on the iPad. The one thing is that screen, right? That OLED screen. I like an e-ink screen. That's just a preference for me. But one thing that I do like to do, so I have the iPad that I'm going to use today when we talk is going to be this big old iPad Pro, and I'll show you why in a minute. But I have one upstairs that I should have grabbed and I didn't, that I use for work, and I only use it for like a note-taking app and a couple of other apps, and I have a matte screen protector on that. And y'all, that is so helpful. Like if I were going to want to read on an iPad, I would probably put a matte screen protector on it because that makes it more like the finish of a Kindle. It cuts down the glare and it makes it more like a paper finish. And to me, it's nicer to write on and it's nicer to read on. So it would affect, I think it would affect some of your browsing. Maybe your home screen looks a little more fuzzy to me with a matte screen protector on it, but to me, it enhances that writing experience so much that it's just worth it to me, because I write on that iPad with an Apple Pencil almost exclusively. So like that's almost exclusively how I use that iPad. So to me, it's worth it to have that matte screen protector on it. So if I were going to read a lot in the Kindle app on an iPad, I would put a matte screen protector on it to cut down that glare. And that, along with some of these other things that we're going to talk about, I think would really enhance the experience of using the Kindle app on an iPad. So with that being said, y'all, let's just jump straight in. Let's start talking about things that we can do inside the Kindle app on an iPad. So I'm going to jump over here. I'm going to get on my iPad, and I'm just going to do a screen recording as I talk about these things. I debated how to do this, if I should do a screen recording or if I should like film my screen while I'm doing it. I think that a screen recording is going to be the way to go. So I'm just going to start a screen recording on my iPad and jump into the Kindle app, which you see is opening. And so the first thing that you see is just all the books, right? You see my library, which y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and say, don't judge me, or you can judge me. I guess the least offensive thing for you to judge me on is my book choice. So this first row is books in my library. And then I have Kindle Unlimited, so they're showing me things in Kindle Unlimited, and then they're trying to show me things that I might want to buy. And then here are my weeks in a row that I have read, my days in a row. It shows me the calendar and how many days this month I've read. And so there's just a bunch of stuff on here. And then down here you can see Kindle Challengers, and we've talked about these before, y'all. These are just little like token economy things that Amazon uses to try to keep you sort of wrapped up in the Kindle economy and keep you reading on your Kindle instead of like going to a different device. I'm not going to say it works for me, but y'all, I've read on my Kindle for 463 days in a row. And I think I've probably read more than that. I don't know how I probably skipped a day or like read on something else for a day, and there are a whole bunch of more days before that. But anyway, I'm not saying I do that to earn these silly tokens, but let me just show you quickly. If you go into more and go into reading insights, you can see all of these silly tokens that you've won. Listen to me like it's a competition, like you're competing with yourself to read. And yeah, so I have all of these, and then here's some from last year. So I'm not saying that like I read on a Kindle to earn these ridiculous little bookmarks that nobody else sees. I'm just saying they're in there. But anyway, so let's get out of my crazy and get back into the Kindle. So that's on the Kindle homepage. Let's jump into a book. And y'all, I'm going to jump into Project Hail Mary. And you'll see why in a minute. I'm actually reading this book. You don't need to use Bluetooth. You'll see I'm actually reading this book because it's highlighted. But so as soon as I jump into this book on this device, it asks me at the bottom, do I want to go to most recently read page? Kindles, of course, sync across devices. So like if you're standing in the line at the Walmart and you're like, oh, I'm going to be here for 10 minutes, I can read a little bit. You take out your phone and read on your Kindle app on your phone. And then you get back to the house and you take out your Kindle Paperwhite. Well, as long as both of those devices are on the internet, they'll sync. So your Paperwhite, when you open the same book on your Paperwhite, it'll know how far you read on your phone, and it'll ask you if you want to jump to your most recently read page, and that's what that just did. So I'm at my most recently read page. Now let's talk about some things that, because this is awful, this reading experience right now. It's very bright white, it's glaring. I'm not enjoying this at all. But here are some things you can do. So if I just double tap the middle of the screen, you see it gives me this menu across the top. And the first thing I'm going to do is go to this little AA menu over here. And this allows me to change sort of the appearance of my page. And y'all know the very first thing I'm going to do is mess with that font size. So it's already on Bookerly. And I'm actually kind of okay with the size. I might take it down just a little bit, but you can adjust your font size here. And you can see there are different fonts, and I hope y'all can see this. but my screen is so big that I can see very clearly as the font changes and the font size changes. So I can change my font, I can go into layout, and here's where I can really change how this thing looks. I'm gonna get rid of that bright white. And often I would read on like this is like an ecru color. There's also this like pistachio green, or it has a white text on a black background, which for somebody, like if you're dealing with a reader with information processing challenges, this can be a game changer. And y'all, I'm not going to get all up into that. We've talked about that in other videos. And let me say this, I'm not going to get deep into the weeds on a lot of the Kindle stuff, like a lot of the things that you can do to tweak your Kindle to help with your reading, make you read more, help resistant readers read more. But a lot of those things that we've talked about on like true Kindles, you can do on the iPad Kindle app. So this is one of those things, is change the color. I'm going to go back to this ecru. And then these, to me, y'all, these are game changers. You can change the spacing. So this is line spacing. You can change your alignment. So if you full justify, so if you have your lines go all the way to both margins, or left justify, so so it starts at the left margin, but then it ends naturally. You can set your margins. I do full wide margins, but again, if you are somebody who prefers to have or needs to have sort of more negative space on the edges of your writing to help you to process the information, this is where you can change all of that. So you can change your margins. And I do a 2-column view because it makes me feel like I'm reading a book, but you can do a single column view, and y'all look at how much you can change the way that this looks. Look at this. So again, if you're the type of person who struggles with having that much information coming at you in one space at one time, you can change all of those things to make it more comfortable for you. So I'm going to stick mine back where it goes. And let's talk about, you can set your themes. So I have mine set to my faves. I don't know why I have it set to this white, but I'm going to leave it at white for now. But there's a compact theme, a standard theme. I think mine is probably standard. Large theme, and then a low vision theme. I like this because y'all, looky here. If you're a person with low vision or with like vision challenges, you don't want to have to go in and try to like be changing font size and change fonts and do all the things. There's one button. All you have to do is find your way to low vision in this app, click that, and I believe you will probably be able to function in this. I think that is great. So I think that's really cool. If you go into more, this is really cool too. This reading ruler, I don't use this to read, but y'all, if I were tired, and especially like if I'm reading out loud, a reading ruler, y'all remember when you were in like 3rd grade and your teacher was like, use your ruler, and you would like use a ruler and drag it down the page to help you stay online? Check this out, it's built in here. And look, if you're trying to let me turn to a page that I haven't highlighted the bejesus out of. If you're trying to build your reading speed, if you have the reading ruler behind, like instead of reading the line that's like having the ruler underneath the line you're reading, if you have the ruler coming down and you're trying to read ahead of the ruler, that'll encourage you to read faster. Now, I'm not a player in that game anymore. I'm old, I'm slow, I'm tired, and I'm just not trying to read. I just read what I read. But if you're trying to build your reading speed, that's a really good way to do it. So I think that reading ruler is super cool. And to the best of my knowledge, Kindles don't have that, just saying. So I'm gonna turn that bad boy off. And look, you can change the colors. You can have pretty little colors. And of course I think the colors are more about your processing, right? Like if you process different colors different ways, you're gonna wanna change that up. Reading progress, you can choose how you want to, like, see down at the bottom, I have my page numbers, but you can have it's learning my reading speed, so it can't predict how long it's going to take me to read things. But You can tell it if you want it to predict how much time you have left in a chapter, left in a book, or just have no reading progress at all, which, seriously, what kind of monster does that? You can turn popular highlights off and on, and that's where it shows you where other people have highlighted stuff. This one, I like this. So we'll talk about highlights. Actually, you know what? Let's talk about highlights right now. So you can obviously highlight in a book, and you see there when I highlight, nothing happens. It just highlights. But that's because I have my highlight menu turned off. If I had highlight menu turned on, when I highlight, it gives me a menu. And I can look up words. It'll give me, so like if I just highlight a word, let's highlight dilly-dally. Oh, I don't have a dictionary downloaded in here. If you have a dictionary, you can tell I do not use this app, but if you have a dictionary downloaded, it'll give you the definition, it'll Wikipedia you, it'll translate, and here's what I really like is you can add notes. Now, I can add a note here. I can just write in note by hand, and it will translate to text, like it'll do handwriting to text. Or, so I have this on my like magic keyboard, so I can type a note in here. I love that. That's actually why I wanted to use this big old ridiculous iPad to show you all this, just so that I could have my magic keyboard on here and show you. I think this is awesome. I think this is so cool. And especially if you're reading like a textbook or a book where you're going to be doing a lot of highlighting. Okay, I do a lot of highlighting in my book club books, but I don't take notes in there because in book club I know that I'm not going to stop and go back and read my notes. We just talk. But so I highlight a lot, but I don't annotate a lot. If I were to annotate a lot in books for book club, I would actually use the iPad and the Kindle app so that I could add notes. So I love that I can use my magic keyboard and type in notes here. You can also, and I was going to do this later, but we may as well do it now. You can, if you want to take notes while you're reading, you can just use the split screen option. And y'all, all I did there was I just dragged over the Apple note-taking app, and you can type notes while you read, or write. Now, I can't write because I have it kicked up like a freaking easel, but if I had it sitting beside me, right, if I had it like sitting on my lap, like if I had it, my hand is like down here in my lap, if I had it sitting on my lap, I could write while I was reading, and I think this is a fantastic option. So I like the split screen for note taking, and I love being able to type in notes to like annotate right into your text. So let me see, what else do we need to talk about in here? Seriously, y'all, if you're considering like reading on an iPad and you haven't messed around with the Kindle app, you need to go in and just mess around with it. All right, so I think that's it for this menu. Let's go back to the top menu over here to this side menu, and so we did sync for this page. You can go to a page from here, annotations. This is why I wanted to look at this book. So you can see here, because I knew I had highlighted in this book. So if I just, let me do that again. So from the text, I just double tap the middle, which gives me the top menu. I go to the three little buttons over on the side, and annotations is one of my options. So if I click annotations, it gives me all of my highlights and all of the notes that I've typed in this, or that I've like annotations, notes, highlights that I've made in this book. And I can go to, like, let's say on page 25, I want to add a note there. I can add a note from here. So I can do it from there, or, so that's been saved, or I can go back into annotations. I can read back through. I can go, but hardly worth 3 whiskeys before dinner. What does that even mean? Click on that. That takes me back to the point in the text. I read it and now I can add a note. So it allows me to move around within the text and add notes, which again, y'all, that's really great. Like if you're going to be having a discussion on a book, that's a great way to do that. Or like for a textbook, game changer. I think that is a fantastic way to take notes in a textbook. So that's annotation. X-ray is the same thing in here as it is in a Kindle. So it gives you some in-depth information into characters, some like key plot points and things in the book. I'm not going to go deep into that. I've talked about that in some other videos. Flashcards, if you look up a word, I think it's Vocabulary Builder. If you look up a word, it holds it in Vocabulary Builder and you can make flashcards and go back and review those. Popular highlights, those are things that other people have highlighted. So those are all things that you can do inside the book in the Kindle app. And y'all, I think that's about it. I think I actually kept this to a reasonable length conversation. Again, there are a lot of things that we've talked about Kindles, about reading on the Kindle, about how to use the Kindle to encourage resistant readers or to be a better reader or to make your reading more enjoyable, that you can apply to reading on the iPad. I think if you're reading on an iPad, if it's one that can use an Apple Pencil, this to me, I love using this if I'm working with the iPad at all. I use my Apple Pencil all the time. It's great for note taking. I think if you're taking notes on a book, the split screen, so you can have your like notes on half the screen and your book on half the screen. One drawback of working on reading a book on an iPad versus a Kindle is that you have all the distractions, right? You have all the distractions of the apps on your iPad, which, I mean, you can, there are some things that you can do on the iPad that'll reduce distractions, but there are still all of those fancy apps there. And speaking of which, y'all, I just got a message from a student who wants to Zoom with me quickly and ask me a question. So I need to jump off here and go do that. And then I'll come back and we'll wrap up this conversation. Okay, so y'all, let me go and I will talk to the student. I'll be right back. Oh, y'all, those children. Is it summer vacation yet? I'm kidding. I jest. All right, where were we? I have no idea. So I just want to say that the Kindle app on the iPad really is a neat little app. And if you're not completely wedded to reading on an e-ink screen, it's worth a look. I love the versatility and the power that it gives you with the Apple Pencil and the ability to do a side-by-side with a Kindle in one screen and a note-taking app in the other screen where you can type. Y'all, I'm going to try to figure out if there's any kind of way to do that with the Kindle, but even with the Kindle Scribe, I don't think you can do that. And with e-ink tablets that let you pair with like a screen, no. With a typewriter, what? See, y'all, these children let you pair with a QWERTY keyboard. That's the one. I just said typewriter. Let you pair with a keyboard. I don't think we'll let you do that split screen where you have your book on one side and a note-taking app on the other. So that's kind of a biggie with the iPad if you're doing like a textbook or some kind of like information-heavy text. That's kind of a biggie. So maybe mess around with the iPad and the Kindle app and see what you can do with it. Y'all, let us know in the comments. Do you use the Kindle app on your iPad or your iPhone or anything other than like a Kindle or an e-ink device? Let us know where you're reading. Y'all, thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you made it with me all the way through this day, we are most definitely friends. So go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you can keep up with the shenanigans. I upload food and fitness videos at the beginning of every week with some book videos sprinkled in between. See you on the next one.